Wally, can I ask Hal a question?
Sure. Hal's not on now.
Oh, okay. And what I was going to ask you is, I've heard such wonderful things about the Minnesota program.
Yeah.
And one of the big factors I see is, when over recruiting happens, what happens is, underplaying kids that have good skills, because there's not enough time to get them all on the ice.
Yeah.
And it's a factor in a lot of junior teams, and and even the U18 teams, which where recruiting is becoming a main factor. But I was talking to a fella in the Minnesota high schools, and I'm not sure what caliber that is, but they have I think it's 150 high school teams in Minnesota, and they have a rec league, and I'm not sure how it works, but they have so many programs, and they're well thought out, and the participation. So, one of my little pet peeves is, to be a defenseman today, you get less ice time unless you're, the guy on the point playing the power play.
Yeah.
And yet this fella said, well, in Minnesota, instead of having 20, they say take the U18, instead of having 20 defensemen who get all the ice time in the power play in the league, they got 150 high school teams.
Yeah.
And
I went to college in Minnesota, so I saw that.
And is it a pretty elaborate group of, because I hear high school hockey in Minnesota is phenomenal. Is that correct? No?
Well, that's what kids grow up wanting to play for their high school, eh? So there's different levels too. Like there's the tier 1 and tier 2 and all this kind of stuff, different tiers of hockey, depending on the size of the towns and all this. But they have the high school tournament, and they fill that where the Wild play. They fill that stadium in the middle of the afternoon. I remember when I was going to Bemidji was playing somebody, and Bemidji had Gary Sargent, who played for the North Stars for a long time. And they were playing someone at 1 p.m. on a Thursday, and there's 15,000 people at the game in Minneapolis. So it's absolutely huge. And, and that guy, Middlestad or whatever, he was a big high school star, just got traded. So there's kids get drafted right out of that league sometimes, and they really feed. And a lot of kids also play for, they work it around somehow. Their season isn't as long, that they play club. I don't know, Hal would have to explain how that works. The club hockey too, but they have all those summer leagues and all that. But the high school hockey is incredible. And Hal said a thing about War Road, because they developed, there's only 2,500 people in the town.
Yeah.
And the kids there can go skating 24 hours a day. You want to go at 2 a.m, you can get your buddies and play. They leave the arena open the whole time. I don't know exactly how they work it, but they produce hockey players up the wing wang. And Roseau's just 10 miles away, and they do the same thing. And they probably have more NHLers per person than anywhere. Like Bufflin's from War Road, I think it is. And lots of guys. So it's quite the deal of Minnesota hockey, the high school hockey.
I wanted to mention something about Minnesota hockey that I observed, Kerry. Years ago, I was working with the Oval team. We were playing in a league. We played the American team in Minnesota. We had a road trip there, and during the U.S. team girls, it was a club team. They were putting on a clinic with about 100 kids on the ice, and I watched that. And that was before the game we were going to play them. And then I'm upstairs in a large open space. In comes a bunch of what I would call, maybe 12, 13-year-old kids. They were boys, but they did some dryland stuff with the coach, who I'm sure was an educator. and they did stuff with ball handling that I've never seen before. So when you talk about high school hockey, it's you're a full-time teacher, you're a full-time coach, and it's part of your job that you're probably paid a little extra for to coach sports in school in the States. I don't think we do that in Canada.
Hey, Tom, how many people would be in Minnesota, the state of Minnesota?
Geez, I don't know. I think the Twin Cities has about 3 million. I'm guessing.
Is it similar to Alberta? Like we're at 5 million.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt if it was similar because the outside of those two places, the places aren't that big. They're kind of like Lethbridge size and all this that I can think of because I think the majority of the people live right in the Minneapolis, St. Paul, and then there's all kinds of.
And Gary, I Googled it, 5.7